don't know about you boys, but for me, the cricket season ended about 45 minutes into the second innings of the Scorchers final at the Optus Stadium. Around the time we lost the fourth wicket, I was like, nah, I don't care about Perth.
I don't even like cricket.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Like when the footy season ends, I'm always thinking, all right, well, at least there's the grand final or the draft. But I didn't watch the final of the BBL. I'm just such a bandwagon fan.
Yeah.
But I think the BBL, that's the nature of the BBL at the moment. Like everyone loves to get around it, but the actual love for your team, like that hasn't really built yet. Like, I mean, it's cool to go for Perth, but if anyone's really obsessed with them, they're kind of lame.
Big call.
I wouldn't say you're obsessed with them.
I'm a reasonable fan.
No,
It's like a patriotism thing, is it? Like a national,
you don't. Well, I'd say you like them as much as us, and vice versa. But you probably like Golden State and Fremantle way more, right?
Yeah.
I'll give that's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you now.
But so, like, if you're spending the off season thinking about Perth Scorchers, like, I don't know, maybe it's a bit harsh, but
Not really.
I think it's a bit weird.
There's more other stuff going on, like footy happening. So you're thinking about footy, basketball still happening. So thinking about that.
Yeah.
There's no real like no build up to the BBL in terms of previews or anything like that. Really don't see big articles coming out or analysis or anything really. Just
that's true.
It's just on.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just something to watch.
It's something to accompany I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here ads.
Yeah.
Something to just ease the insertion of those.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, let's just never talk about cricket for the rest of the season.
Actually, South Africa series is coming up, starting in about a week or two's time.
All right.
Which will be really interesting.
That actually will be a pretty good series. Yeah. Right.
And the warm-up game just finished, I think, which Australia won, but it was against South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa. That's right. Yeah.
It'll be a really good series, actually. We'll talk about that later.
You good?
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's move on to the footy. All right. So obviously we had like a whole month off between podcasts now, so quite a bit's happened. Obviously AFLX. I think we talked about in the last episode. We were going to say, wonder what it's going to be like. Wonder if we'll actually enjoy it. What did you guys think? Did you actually? I mean, I was pretty excited to watch it, but
I'd say it's pretty much what we thought it was going to be, really.
Okay.
It's like,
Elaborate.
like that slightly gimmicky but somewhat entertaining thing, but it'd have like adaptations to like play a social Wednesday night or internationally where less people are keen to get around it, sort of thing. Pretty much what we thought.
I enjoyed it only from the standpoint that I just got to see some draftees play. I think I just enjoyed it because I like to see footy back. But if you're asking me, would I prefer to see a real game or a JLT game or AFLX, I'd choose JLT over an AFLX game every day.
I don't think it was exciting as they were hoping it was going to be. You know, they built it as this X Factor game, but what really happened was it was kick, mark. There wasn't really many stoppages, which is what they want. But when you make it just kick, mark, it's kind of... I thought it was, at times, more boring. And then it was just both teams loading up for the Zupa goals repeatedly. I don't know. It got old pretty quick, like you said, once my team had finished and I'd finished watching all the draftees play. What do you think, Louis?
Yeah, I'm of the same view. I don't know. I can't see it taking over. I don't know. It's like, unlike the international stage, I think what they're going for, I can't really see that happening.
They're going to have to, they're no doubt going to refine it. So,
yeah, I guess it's their first season. I mean, with the BBL, they planned, go back to cricket, but they were planned for, I think the first 3 seasons were all running at a loss. But they had enough faith in it to continue it for year after year.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was always start off with losses. So I guess that's what they're going to be trying to do with AFLX, just get it out there and continue to hope it builds some momentum, I guess. But as you said, like, it's just like, you know how with rugby, people that support rugby, they think AFL is like aerial ping pong. I think it's probably a great example of aerial ping pong, to be honest. It was a lot like basketball, a lot running up and down the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just to showcase new draftees, as Joycey was saying, it was okay, but it's just such a small sample size of seeing these players.
It's interesting the difference in approaches between different clubs. Like you saw the Bulldogs took over about 65 games of AFL experience, and then at the other end of the spectrum, North brought over like, I don't know, 10 experienced players and a few others, but and they didn't even win, which is funny. But you could tell there were certain clubs really didn't give a shit. I think West Coast and the Bulldogs were one of them. Fremantle was sort of in the middle. I think that you brought a lot of kids over, but there were a few experienced players.
Yeah. I think, I don't really... I really don't know what to make of it, just because I need to see more of it. It was over very quick.
2 10-minute halves or whatever it was.
Yeah. But, so, boys, if I can run through you all, do you want to see AFLX back next season, Busher?
I'd give it another chance, I guess. Like, as long as it isn't something that affects, like, guys preparing for actual footy. Yeah. Like, even as a few coaches said, they pretty much use it as a drill, like, in training, like a kick-to-kick type drill, but it's a bit more game simulation.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I know the clubs, or at least certain clubs, are a bit pissed that they lose a JLT game for this tournament. So, you know, the match conditioning is not the same. You won't get that from AFLX compared to JLT. But from the standpoint that clubs can showcase their draftees, I mean, that's awesome, really. Like, I love seeing, you know, like, last 2 years of draftees rolled out. And I think if that was all the teams doing that and all the draftees were going against each other, that would be really cool. But then again, I don't know if that would appeal to the more casual footy fan. That probably appeals to more hardcore footy fans who know the kids are.
So you'd like to see it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Louis?
Yeah. If they replaced it, if it was just a JLT game, I would much prefer to see that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I would watch it because it's footy and it's sport, but look, I don't know. Just not a big fan. And the commentary I wasn't a big fan of either. It's just too... Yeah, well, I was going to say Triple M, but I mean, James Brayshaw's just moved across from Triple M as well. So that made us where I'm basing that from. But just the Zupa goals and it's just a bit gross.
I just hate that
There
word,
wasn't any analysis either, you know. It's just, Zupa goals.
They would cut to picture-in-picture for like half of the quarter as well, just interviewing random players in the stands.
Limo was there talking about what, I don't know. It was... Limo.
The amount of bloody times I heard BT and Brayshaw making jokes every time Andrew Brayshaw came on about like, yeah, that's your boy, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, I've heard this 10 times. Shut up. Please.
Yeah, it kind of killed it. It'd be good if it just had, you know, a few more commentators that knew a lot more about these players or could offer something, except BT saying from the Calder Cannons Football Factory or something like that. I want a bit more information than that.
Yeah.
The boy from Mandurah.
Yeah, Mandurah.
Yeah.
One thing that occurred to me actually was how, we talked about them wanting to grow the game overseas, but I feel like this one was quite geared towards kids. They had the circus act theme, they had people on stilts, they had kids sections where, you know, like the kids could go and look at these things, these acts, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was weird, and that occurred to me because... We were talking the other day about how soccer is actually the fastest growing sport in Australia. So I wondered if the AFL is starting to feel a bit threatened that they're losing kids to other sports. I'd imagine basketball is probably another one that they're worried about. And I mean, I think if they have this flashy AFL thing, they think the vibrant colours are going to get the kids interested. I don't know if I agree with that. But...
Even I've made this point before, but it's like something where the kids can you can take your kid down on a Wednesday night and they can play a game of AFLX. Like,
That's
like
true.
It is good from a local. Yeah. It is really good from a local standpoint.
That's what Auskick is for, really, though, isn't it? I mean, Auskick's getting more and more watered down, I guess, in terms of they're trying to shorten games and just not like
remove scoring. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they do that in some junior clubs,
real juniors, soccer, I think as well. But I mean, that's with the games though. I think Australia's, as we're talking about with the Scorchers, like you're big on your team. You're big on the Scorchers. You're big on Warriors. Big on Eagles, that kind of thing. If you go to a round robin tournament, your team's playing for 20 minutes or 40 minutes in total, basically, the space over 2 games. I mean, it's great to be able to see, say, your Dangerfields and your Pendlebury's or whatever, but I saw when the Eagles were playing, there were a lot of vacant seats, And I'm just thinking, does it have staying power with actually drawing people into the game because your team's not actually playing that long? And do you have enough interest in Collingwood versus North Melbourne? No. If they had a bar there, like that's the only thing I could think of that would draw me there. If I could watch my team, and then in the meantime go on drink a beer or two, you know. But
like I said in a previous podcast, I really don't I don't understand the whole standpoint of like, oh, they can compete with soccer and basketball with this, because it's like, if I like soccer, I'm not gonna choose something that's a little bit like soccer, but still like AFL. I'm still going to choose soccer. Yeah. Or if I like basketball, I'm not going to choose something that's a little bit like basketball.
To work your way up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to stay with basketball, aren't I? So, yeah.
I think the counter argument to that is probably looking at the rugby sevens model. And having lived overseas, I interact with a lot of people because the Dubai rugby sevens is it's a big thing. And I knew actually a lot of people that didn't like rugby, but they're like, oh, rugby sevens, that's actually pretty cool.
I'm even a little the same with rugby. Like, I like normal rugby, like not that I really follow it or anything, but rugby sevens, like, I don't follow it much either, but like watching the games, it's just more free flowing. Like, you see more guys just bursting off and just...
Well, that actually, I think rugby sevens is way better than AFLX at the moment, though. I think that's what it has going for it. So, you know... There was like...
it's an Olympic. Is it Olympic, rugby sevens?
I think it is,
yeah. I know there's like a US sprinter that got recruited for rugby sevens just because he could just sprint past everyone and there's a lot more paddock to get around on.
Also, it's way less of a change than AFLX is to AFL. AFLX and AFL, there's actually quite a big difference between those games. Rugby sevens... There's not much of a difference, is there, apart from the numbers? There's a few rule changes, yes, but apart from that...
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It allows for more exciting play in the fast breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
AFLX doesn't really accommodate that because, unlike rugby, you can kick the ball. Yeah. So you can kick at 60 metres and you've made up like more than half the field. So you're just getting a running and kicking game, and it's not really sort of showing off the best aspects of footy. So
all right.
Well,
So that's good to get a mixed review on AFLX. I think
I just can't get over the Zupa goals, man.
It's the worst name, isn't it? It's just like...
It's just...
the thing is, though, because it's a new product, the AFL are probably kind of slaves to their sponsors.
They can't be not making that much money that they have to...
They'd need...
pimp out the game to...
They'd need to encourage sponsors to get around this new product because it might have been it might have been shit. I mean, it probably was.
I'll say, according to a lot of the comments I saw on Facebook, it was just not great.
Yeah. So, I mean, Zupa, or what are they called? Zupa Dupas. Zupa, I presume, is the name of the company.
Zupa Dupa's an icy pole.
Yeah, I know that. But, like...
I didn't understand what they're saying in the game.
It's a spaceship company.
Yeah, I'm saying they probably stipulated that as part of their sponsorship deal. So they felt like, all right, we'll do it.
I just don't like it. The commercialisation of everything.
That'll be temporary.
It is becoming such a profits-based...
It's a 4X gold clearance for Nat 5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Triple M, SCN.
It is.
Well, it's going to be like the IPL, the DLF Super IPL Maximum 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, moving on. I think we've covered the AFLX. We're back with the real footy now. Started this weekend, the JLT. Some probably wouldn't even call it real footy yet, but it's as close to the real thing as it gets.
Other than the actual thing, of course.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Super duper is an icy pole.
My cat's food smells like cat food. Oh, sorry, it's my cat's breath smells like cat food. That's the quote I was going for there. My bad. I'm wearing a bloody Simpsons shirt and I can't even get the quote right.
Anyway, so the first game of the JLT series was what would otherwise be a pretty uninteresting game, Melbourne versus North. And we know that Melbourne pretty much did what you'd expect them to do in a normal season, winning by 53 points. No real surprises there. I think we saw Billy Hartung play for North and kicked a couple of snaggers. There's a few people talking him up, but he's not one I would really get excited about personally.
7 or 8 inside 50s is something he had as well. That was...
How many?
7 or 8, I think. I think it was definitely 7.
Yeah, it's not bad from like 17 possessions. I think he had, so that's about half.
And he's always known to like be hard tongues, like athletic, like fitness based. Like he's a very good runner, and so I guess in JLT, low pressure kind of that kind of thing. You'd assume he would be, I know, utilised a lot, just running up and down the ground, as we saw Andrew Gaff was. In another game as well. I think like he was not a trade target, but he was rumoured to be. He was shopped around pretty hard, and there was talk of the Eagles into him and things like that. But I don't see him doing a lot during the season.
No.
Anyways, where I was going with that? He sucks.
I see him being in there 22, but
that's the thing. He went to a club where they're probably lacking young midfield talent, and Ha-Tung, from memory, he's 2013 draft, so he's 23 this year. So I mean, I guess he could count as young midfield talent. So they're in a position where they could give him a shot. Sort of like, kind of reminds me of when we took Brad Dalziel, like all those years ago. Very similar sort of.
What they pay for Ha-Tung in the end? Do you remember?
I want to say he was a delisted free agent.
Oh yes. That makes sense,
Yeah. So no, pretty worth it if that is true.
Worth a gamble.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, North. It's just like.
We need to lay off the beating up for one episode.
What? We have less subscribers now?
Views in the negative.
They do have a nice Clash jersey this year.
They do, yeah.
So that's something you've got going for you.
Luke Davies-Uniacke's good too. They got that
going
for him.
They do.
Yeah, 12 touches, I think. Yeah.
They drafted pretty well, I think. I mean, we not criticised, but we made the observation pre-draft that they lacked young talent. Obviously they're at the start of their rebuild, and now with someone like LDU, they've actually got someone you could see them building their team around. Obviously, Ben Brown as well is already one of the best key forwards in the game.
Yeah.
And they do with Josh Simpkin as well. Is it?
Yeah.
Josh
Simpkin.
Jai, thank you. Josh Simpkin is somebody else.
You're thinking of Josh Simpson, I think.
That guy's black, completely different person.
Did you boys happen to see Jai Simpkin got drunk and hit by a motorbike?
Yes.
The other day.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
that's hilarious.
But
when who was it? Polak got Polak
by a tram.
Oh yeah, that was
I'm
pretty
sure
dark.
He almost died. Hey?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
My favourite one was when Jonathan Brown got hit by the car, and the more damage to the car than there was to Jonathan Brown. That's actually a thing.
That doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Man, unless he went through the windscreen. Anyway.
We can only hope. Where are we talking about?
Yeah, we were just talking about North
and Melbourne.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Melbourne, they won.
Yes, they did win, and
bright times for Melbourne fans.
Yes, I think so. I was going to say before as well. I think the JLT and, as it was formerly known, NAB Cup, Wizard Homeowners Cup.
Sorry to interrupt. What is JLT?
Jardine Lloyd Thompson's like an insurance type.
Yeah.
It's a bit gross. Anyway.
I got an email them tomorrow, actually, interestingly, but I digress.
Send your resume in?
Oh, no, not quite. Work-related thing, but
JLT.
Workers' comp claim, fun stuff.
Just strange. I guess it's a complete distraction. The naming of these, is this just like a highest bidder?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like Crazy John's, like...
We were so close
Madison.
to having Crazy John Stadium.
Yeah.
Which was fucking ridiculous. I mean...
I'm beeping that out with the Super.
That was flipping ridiculous.
Yeah. Flamingos are my favourite of the bird species. But apart from that, it was just close to Crazy John Stadium.
So if everyone else is interested and didn't know how to use Google, watch the podcast. One of the JLT minutes. Anyway, okay. Melbourne.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the JLT. I was just going to say, I think it, as a series, means more than it used to.
Yep.
I think we're seeing teams play their best 26 players to get them match fitness, because you've got these two opportunities to play them. It's not like the old days where you just play a mixture of your draftees and your depth, and then you'd laugh it off if you lost.
I think a big thing these days is coaches know they need as many points as they can straight up. They can't afford to spend round 1, 2, 3 getting into the season. They need all the players to be hitting like good form by the start of round 1. That's why you're going to see, for example, Fremantle play guys like Aaron Sandilands, Michael Johnson, David Mundy, all the over 30-year-olds who are injury risk, but you need them to be playing their best footy by the time round 1 hits so they can get as many points on the board.
Yeah, totally agree. It's a good observation. So yeah, to that end, I was just going to say Melbourne can be really happy with a 9-goal win. I don't think it's something to ignore. They did uncover Bailey Fritsch, the draftee from last year. Another one the Eagles were into, but I think we took Liam Ryan instead. But this kid could be better. 3 goals from 11 possessions, and had quite a few people talking about him. So probably one to watch.
Age? Really?
Yeah, he's 20. So I think
was he already at a club before Melbourne?
No, I want to say he was playing I could be wrong on this, but from memory, he's playing Amos or something like that, and then VFL or something like that. Maybe it was just VFL. But either way, he kicked 42 goals from 19 games. I remember that much. Yep. And obviously was on the radar for a few clubs. And I think at 20 years old, he might still be Rising Star eligible. So, interesting. He could be just out, but...
They've got a really good group, I think, of young guys coming through. A lot of their drafts from the previous years are going to start to be paying off now. The Vineys, the Hogans, Clayton Oliver, all those sorts of guys. Got a few handy recruits, Tom Bugg, Dom Tyson.
Oh, man, I mean, the potential there, if they get together, it's GWS-like, I guess you could...
Yeah. I think they're a team to watch out for in the next couple of years. They're starting to actually get some depth. It's taken a while, but it's really good signs for Melbourne fans.
It's true. I was thinking about this in the car on the way over here, actually. Obviously, Max Gawn is probably one of the most influential rucks in the league, if not the most.
Yeah, of course.
And he's one of those players that just the team grows a third leg. Sorry.
I've never heard that
Super that one out as well.
No, the team grows an extra leg when he's playing. You know, he's that sort of player, sort of like what Nat Nui is for the Eagles. And
stop moving the chair.
Yeah, stop moving it now. So, you know, that's another consideration. I just wonder with Melbourne, thinking about this year in particular, whether they have the midfield to compete with, you know, Geelong or Sydney in a high-pressure final, even Adelaide. Obviously, as you said, they got talent. They got Clayton Oliver, but there's a lot of B to B grade plus talent. I just wonder whether they can get deep in finals.
I think these are the years they need to be just making the cut, making the 8, 7, 6, getting finals, even if they're losing finals or winning one, then losing, just getting as much finals experience into those guys. So when those guys are hitting 26, 27, 28, they've played 4 or 5, 6 finals and they can handle the situation.
I agree. See that like in the Eagles, like early 2000s, that kind of thing. Just making the finals, or just doing okay. Like
I think Geelong as well, before they hit their big
that
run.
whole thing, they could only play 3 quarters, and you know people were kind of writing him off, and then 2007 it just clicked for them, kind of thing.
Even Richmond, they had those 3 years where I think they lost 3 elimination finals in a row.
Something like that. I was going to say with your B plus players point though, you could say the same about the Bulldogs, even Richmond to a certain extent, like. They got that.
That's true.
Richmond do have some.
Richmond a bit better, obviously. They've got like Cochin, Martin, and stuff. But Bulldogs, other than Bond, I wouldn't say any of the other midfielders are an A grade for sure.
They have role players that just played out their skins, I think, like Victoria and Mitch Wallace and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I'd argue though, the Bulldogs are an outlier for that because they, you know, like Richmond, they had a team that sort of bought into the game plan and were just unbelievable for 4 weeks out of the year. Whereas most contenders you see as a general rule do have the better midfields.
Melbourne have the potential to do that.
They just don't. They don't quite have that Dustin Martin, that Bontempelli player, do they? The real like icing on the cake sort of player.
Jack Viney is
Viney's good, but I think still
Clayton Oliver is probably one that
potential,
could be the potential. And then obviously there's Petrarca. Obviously the downside with him is that is he more of a forward? I could see him becoming a midfielder later in his career.
Is he as good as Isaac Heaney?
What's that, sorry?
Is he as good as Isaac Heaney?
Yeah,
that's another video.
That's a good question.
Nice segue.
But, you know, they do have potential. Obviously, Angus Brayshaw is another one. Massive potential. Still only, 21? Maybe turning 22 this year.
Yeah.
So,
incredible,
Yeah, they do have time on their side.
If they do well and may win a premiership next few years, is Paul Roos one of the greatest coaches of all time? for dragging
Probably,
Melbourne to absolute basket case.
Probably, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's
AFL paid him a ton of money, a metric ton of money to come in and take over, basically.
Mind you, though, sorry to interrupt, but just on that, Simon Goodwin would deserve all the praise almost, I think, if they won the flag, considering Melbourne haven't played finals yet.
That's, I know, yeah. We're talking a big hypothetical.
That's but
correct.
I see your point. Like, at the time Bruce took over, if you said Melbourne were a premiership contender within 5 years, you'd think, holy shit. But, also some credit needs to go to the recruiters. They had probably the worst recruiting staff for 5 years or whatever, maybe longer. And then if they can build a premiership, they deserve some praise too.
I think it really goes to show that getting that number 1, number 2 draft pick isn't everything. You've seen it quite a bit with Carlton, Melbourne, Fremantle in the past, that they get very, very high draft picks, but because the culture isn't in the right position, those players can't come to fruition. Yeah. And when you get the really good coaching staff on board that really drive home a really strong culture, which is what Paul Roos does, what Ross Lyon's sort of done at Fremantle, Clarkson. That you're actually doing better with the later draft picks, maybe the 5, 6, 7s, bringing them into that really solid culture than you are with the 1s and 2s. I mean, we saw it at Carlton with Murphy, Gibbs, Cruiser. They all took a long time. They really needed a few coaches to step in there and show that good culture, and the same at Melbourne.
Another thing with Roos is like Clarkson, you've got the Clarkson coaching kind of thing. Longmire, Ross Lyon, and some Goodwin have all been under his reign kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's,
even half the coaches these days have been under Clarkson's.
Yeah, I was going to say Clarkson's
basically
That's a rumour.
That's half true. Harvey Weinstein situation,
Yeah.
Shocking content.
No, it's a very good point. Yeah, very good point you made about Melbourne. Though it's a big culture thing.
Yeah.
Can we see them pushing top 8? I can see them probably 7, something like that. I guess we'll come back to that.
They're a real sort of 6 to 12 range team.
Real sort of 2 to 17 sort of team.
I mean, I'd almost like their list. It's kind of pretty envious. Like, you can be pretty envious of what they have, like the youth talent. That potential coming through.
I mean, they had to go through hard times to get the access to those picks and stuff, didn't they? So don't envy Melbourne too much.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, say the glory.
All right. Well, moving on to the next game, we saw Richmond absolutely annihilate Essendon, which was a bit of a surprise. Obviously, most people would expect Richmond to win that game, but for them to come out of the blocks straight after the premiership and just pick up like they hadn't missed a beat. Really impressive, I thought. The young fella, Shea Bolton, as well, kicking 3 goals for them. Probably one of the more exciting youngsters. We know that Rioli's probably not going to play round 1. Yep. So, big positives for them and, well, not so much Essendon.
One thing that game really did, and we were all guilty of that a little bit, is shut up the haters a bit. All the guys saying, Richmond got lucky. They don't have talent. They don't have any skill apart from Martin and Kocher, and then they just come out completely dominate.
Sticks to their high pressure game plan kind of thing, even though it's in JLT Series.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so long you can bag them out before. It's only JLT. It means nothing, but there's only so long we can sort of bag them out before you got to say, actually, maybe they are a really, really good side.
They have proved us and me particularly wrong at pretty much every turn. So you're right. As I said, I think the impressive part is that the mental aspect of it, for them to come out and treat it really seriously in JLT 1 when you could almost forgive them for resting on their laurels a bit.
Exactly.
Sort of the opposite to what the Bulldogs... I mean, as we said, early days, but look good signs for them. Essendon,
though, not... so good. Well, you get jobbed by the reigning premiers. It's, I don't know. You wouldn't, like a loss, you could understand, but it's a pretty substantial loss.
90 points nearly. So, that's a really bad loss for them. They did have some gastro go through the club, I think, which could explain it, but not great start for him. You'd have to say. I'd be pretty devastated if my club got belted like that in JLT.
There is one positive. Devon Smith played really well, played in the midfield. I think a lot of people, myself included, probably thought he was a little overrated. But I got to give credit where credit's due. He played a really good game, so that's a positive for them. Also, Adam Sard kicked a really, really nice opening goal of the game. So it looks like they've picked up a couple of handy recruits there.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Stringer as well looked handsome.
So it looks like a bloody
looks like a pineapple, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to the radio over again on the way here, and they were talking about Stringer as a midfielder.
I heard that today, actually. I heard that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't think that's his skill set. I think he's going to be a damaging half forward, and we know he has talent, but I don't think he has the nous, the footy IQ and the tank probably.
He just doesn't have the full package.
He's not gonna touch the ball enough times as a midfielder. Surely he has games where he touches the ball 7 or 8 times, but the reason he's impactful is because he kicks 3 or 4 goals from those 7 touches.
Yeah,
so surely you want him around the goal face.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's got great goal sense, as you say. I mean, he was taken with pick 4 from memory, which is a lot to play for a medium forward who can't play any other position. I mean, I know he's at Essendon now and they got a good deal for him, but probably one that hasn't really lived up to the hype.
I'll make a big call and say he'll be delisted or retire in 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, good 3 years.
Retire would be young because he's like...
I think it's just going to be the whole, I just don't like my footy anymore. And then just fade off.
I don't like my footy, plus nobody likes him, kind of thing.
Plus I suck. Like,
a little bit of a like a Mitch Clark version too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know, like, because the thing is with the Bulldogs, it was like their number 1 forward, you'd say, and like so he'd be getting a lot of attention. Maybe he'll get less attention and be able to run loose.
That's true. Like you need him to be not necessarily
your number 1.
Option. The number 1 focus for the opposition. So they've got Danaher to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Which does help him. So I mean, we'll see.
I think Danaher. Speaking of Danaher, he's going to have a very big year this year. I think he's a great player.
He's a good player.
Next of the big power forwards, in my opinion, I've got him over Tommy Lynch and Jeremy Cameron at the moment.
Yeah, that's
spicy call.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Yeah, no, insane talent really. What did he come like top 3, top 4 in the Coleman last year? And I'd probably expect him to get close again, if not win it. So
he's extremely athletic for a big man. I'd say as athletic as Buddy.
He's massive, isn't he?
He's 201, I think.
Who is his?
Maybe even taller.
Who's his old man? He's the cousin of Neil Danaher.
Cousin or
was
nephew?
It Terry Danaher, his dad? I don't know. That's a bit of a guess. But
was his dad? They also ruckman? They have to be ruckman or tall blokes.
Good question. I don't know.
He's massive.
Probably should have researched that before the podcast.
I know you just got Joe Danaher on me, mate. I know you're going to talk about Essendon.
But yeah. All right.
There's rumours like John Worsfold moving back to his family. I think has moved back to WA at the end of last year. So there's talk about him moving on at the end of this season as well. So I don't know if.
See, I mean, he separated from his wife around the time that he left the Eagles. So I mean, I guess they probably shouldn't speculate that much.
We shouldn't speculate. No, that's true.
I didn't know that.
But his family has moved back as far as I know, and there's rumours that I guess where does that leave him? Where does that leave him in the club? Club's in a bit of a limbo stage that you'd expect. You'd want someone like a Worsfold or Simon Goodwin to stay there for a long period of time.
We should only speculate on the conspiracies episode.
Yeah.
We're doing a second of those next week.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I mean, that would be such a shit result for Essendon. What are they? 3 years into a coaching deal, and if he left, that'd be pretty bad. Obviously, family and life comes first, but just from their perspective, that would be a bad result.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, so Adelaide and Fremantle were the next game. Surprisingly close game, all due respect to Fremantle. I think, obviously coming up against the grand finalists, bottom 5 or 6 last year, Fremantle really took it to Adelaide and probably had every chance to win. Being Dockers
should
fans.
have won.
Yeah,
should have.
There you go.
Dropped the bundle in the last few minutes, I'd say.
Yeah. So general thoughts on the game. Were you happy as the net result?
Very, very happy, yeah. I was very happy because all the players we brought in had good impact. So Wilson had a very good game.
Material was solid.
Material was solid. We saw a few of the young guys play decent games.
Brayshaw, I liked the look of Brayshaw.
Brayshaw, Lloyd Meek was good.
Banfield,
who had like 11 disposals and 2 goals from 38% game time, which is pretty good. So it's always really good to see that what the staff have been doing in the off-season has been good. Well, it's early to say, but it looks to be.
It was great to see that Fifey looking dominant. He was clearly the best on ground.
Yeah, and played a lot at centre half forward. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's put on 1 or 2 more kilos. He's just looking absolutely huge. A highlight of the game for me, I'm sure you saw it, is
when he took his shirt off.
Yeah, well, apart from that, is when he picked up the ball. He got lined up by Rory Laird from about 50 metres away. He wasn't even looking at Laird. Laird came and bumped him, and Laird went flying.
Yeah, there was another one where Fifey took the grab, but it was touchless play on, so he just saw those guys coming in, he just ran in, boom, and just kept doing his thing.
I think we were talking about it off air, but I think Fife is such a barometer for you guys. If he gets back to his top form, you'd have to say you're a finals chance. As I said, you need the probably some more help in the midfield. Obviously, Mundy's not going to be playing there that much anymore.
Interestingly, I watched the pre-game. They interviewed Ross Lyon. He was talking about Fife, Mundy and Walters sort of being a free-man, mid-forwardy type thing, like one of them forward, the other two in the guts, sort of.
That's a pretty good dynamic, really, is it? Walters, Fife and Mundy. Mundy's.
I like the idea of Mundy as a forward. He's kicked some clutch goals over the years.
I think it's him a defensive kind of side out of those three. That Walters is an X factor and he's a very attacking player. Fife, I mean, you want him to use his attacking assets as much as he can. So you probably need someone out of those three to play a bit more defensive. I think that's probably where Mundy would do well, especially in his. But he can play at either end. He started off his career at half back, and you've seen him really good at the half forward mark. But
I think we've got
defensive kind of role.
Younger guys they sort of want to develop into the half backs, whereas our forward line's probably a bit less set. So they might use veteran sort of leadership to help out old McCarthy and those boys.
Yeah.
If you're giving up if you're giving up some midfield minutes for him, you probably do want someone else to come into that on-ball rotation more regularly. And I think Connor Blakely is probably one who's reaching that level of physical maturity that he's probably, and he's talented as well.
When he was in there last year, he looked great.
Yeah,
he played I think about 100% of the game down back, which was interesting on the weekend. So I think he's actually may have lost out in the midfield rotation of Brayshaw for now. I think they're really keen to fast track the development of Brayshaw.
Yeah.
Obviously because they see him as very talented and he can impact straight away. But I personally would like to see Blakely in the midfield.
I have heard with Brayshaw the words future captain thrown around.
Yeah, well,
I've heard that.
You hear very positive things. I mean, but we'll just
have
to wait and see. You don't want to put too much pressure on him already.
That's true. Putting on expectation to your top 3 or whatever draft picks, can be a bit of a trap. But, obviously very talented kid, and seems like he took to AFL pretty well. He strikes me as the sort of kid who could play AFL just about the whole season in his first year, unlike a lot of draftees. So. We were talking about it before, but that automatically makes him a rising star contender if he can play 20 games.
Well, Ross Lyon talked about during the week, they actually deliberately had a real focus on drafting ready-made players, especially being in the back end of the rebuild. They can't really afford to have players that they need to develop for 3 years. With the rebuild, you really need to get that block and then move that block through. You can't just afford to keep drafting, you know what I mean? You can't just afford to keep developing players.
I totally agree. And Brayshaw being an inside player will take time before he's like
big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, big enough. So he will have to find some other way to impact, but he's well equipped. So
going back to your point about Fife being like the barometer of the team, that's the thing. If he can play, 5 or 6 weeks, if he can play the whole season, obviously uninjured, but like if he goes down or like it's hard to see the team. Not hard to see, but like everyone buying into sort of high pressure defensive mindset game of Ross Lyon, I think.
He'd be pretty demotivating to lose Fife from a Fremantle perspective. Obviously, it gives you an opportunity to develop other guys. Like you may be forced to play Blakely in the middle, just as an example, or Tucker, maybe someone to take midfield minutes. I don't know, but that's true.
What's interesting, actually, also that Lyon spoke about after the game was he talked about how the last few premiers have been big forward pressure teams. If you remember in 2013, 2012, Fremantle were probably the best side for that forward pressure. And sort of, Ross said he thinks they were ahead of the curve. But then he said through a fault of his own, he thinks it was the wrong decision moving to the Hawthorn model of the high-skilled kick around. And they tried to do that, and it hasn't worked. He said he made the bad decision of not picking the plan for the players that he has at his disposal.
Yes, I think you could easily tell it. I mean, that was the issue, trying to move. You could probably see that moving to that kind of game plan with the low-skilled players Fremantle didn't really have like the pinpoint precision kicking skills. They like Ibbotson and like Mzungu and stuff like that. It just wasn't really going to but that's true. And as you said, just now we've gone back to that high pressure thing.
I think it's really important for when you are building a premiership contending team, it's important to be innovative rather than try and emulate. So if you're trying to adapt another team's game plan with a list that hasn't been built looking at that game plan, you're in strife. Like you said, Richmond, they had a lot of small, faster pressure forwards, played like one or two main forwards and then a lot of smaller forwards, and they played to that game plan. And Hawthorn had an amazing list of players who could kick the ball 60 metres precisely, and therefore they could do that. So teams copying them was never really going to work out.
I mean, the game plan of high pressure mank football, I mean, how's that a game plan? Like, it's just getting all your players to buy in and attack the ball like crazy and put pressure on the opposition. Where's the game plan there? How do you play against that? What's the strategy?
That's true. I guess break through it with precise kicking.
I guess so, but I guess that's why Hawthorn was so good, because they had the time and space to be able to, and the skill and talent to get the ball to people on the outside and things, and be able to precision kick through these zones and past these zones, so teams wouldn't be able to pressure them like that.
They had the inside mids to accommodate
and just to win the ball.
So many, I mean, like Sam Mitchell, Jordan Lewis, all those guys.
Ross did say as well that he thinks actually using that high skill model for a few years was actually good for the players, because he said he thinks the younger players he's got have really developed a very high skill level. So he thinks if he's going back to the forward pressure, he thinks that he might be able to get a little bit of both in there now.
Yeah.
But like even Blakely, I remember an issue with him with his kicking, and now I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think guys like Tucker, Ed Langdon, there was Lockie Weller there. You saw all the draftees that they picked up were really good kicks. A lot of half forward, half back type players, real good runners, handballers, kickers. Only time will tell, I guess. If it worked, it could be a massive failure. It could go either way. And I think if Freo don't improve much this year, I think Ross is in big trouble, to be honest.
I think that's a fair call. So 2016, 17 and 18, so that'll be 3 years after the grand final of poor results. So, most
after finishing first.
Oh, sorry, I meant first. I was thinking of the right year, just said the wrong thing.
Speaking of Worsfold coming back to WA.
Holy shit, that would be terrible.
Where do he plays for?
He is a Fremantle boy.
He's South Freo, yeah.
But surely...
I reckon he'd be the sort of guy who would just do it, eh? Yeah.
He wouldn't give a flip. Actually, did we talk about the main transfer back to Fremantle, didn't we? Did we mention that? How there's the rumour, we might have in previous podcasts, that...
I don't think we actually did talk about
it. So Collingwood, just bring up like the forward pressure of before, and he's a massive proponent of that. Not proponent.
Worsfold? Sorry?
No. Chris May.
Main, sorry.
Yeah.
But there was, the AFL vetoed him coming back to Fremantle.
Yeah.
In the trade period.
Yeah.
Have we talked about this?
I don't think we did.
Because the Collingwood basically just wanted to get rid of him, and they were going to pay like a weird amount.
They're going to pay like half his salary.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. If we were like, bug it, we'll take him.
I would have actually loved that, to be honest.
Like prodigal son returns. So Thierry Henry came back to Arsenal.
Yeah.
I'd take Chris Main over Matt Taberner any day of the week.
I'd take Chris Main for like 200k. Like, why not throw him on the list give him a 1 or 2 year contract?
I mean, it's fair enough that he left. I mean, it's just like Quinton Lynch apparently when he went to Collingwood got paid more for that season than he did in like 3 or 4 seasons in the West Coast. Yeah. So you can't you're not gonna be like, oh, this traitorous bastard or whatever. But it'd be good to take him back. But the AFL vetoed it because.
What were the grounds for them vetoing it? I can't remember.
Oh, jeez, I don't know. It must have been. I don't know. I
can't remember. I do remember happening, obviously.
Buckley completely threw him under the bus. That was such a dick.
Yeah. Blamed on.
You can say move. Yeah.
Shocking.
No, it was.
I wasn't in the team that recruited him, so I don't have any responsibility for having him on my list.
Yeah. That's just the biggest no-no when you're like, but anyway. No.
He won't be there for long anyway.
Oh, no, I reckon he could keep finishing 5th last every year and keep his job.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Ugh.
These club legends, they'd certainly
get dangerous, isn't it? Like with Essendon as well. And
Michael Voss.
He's definitely been giving a longer leash than I've ever seen anyone get, though. Like,
I don't know. You could say the same about Hardwick even, because he had all those years where he was finishing 9.
That's true.
And now he's a bloody
They got a whole new board.
They were in a dark place when he took over, though. Richmond. I remember they were talking about them being one of the worst teams of all time. I can't remember what season. I want to say 2010.
Who coached? Not Terry Hardwick. Who was between Terry Hardwick?
Terry Wallace.
Wallace, who am I thinking of?
Terry Hardwick.
His cousin.
You're not thinking of Danny Frawley because wasn't he before Wallace?
He was before Wallace. You're right. Is there no one in between? It feels like I'm sure there was Jade Rawlings.
Terry Hardwick.
But was he probably just caretaker?
I don't think he was a full-time.
He was just caretaker. Yeah.
His cousin Terry Hardwick.
It's just him with a mustache. He got fired once, so he just took off the mustache.
I'd like to apply for the job.
Just like when Worsfold leaves Essendon, one Herd applies for the job.
Yeah, one.
His Mexican cousin.
Yeah. I would actually like to see Herd get given another chance.
No.
Really?
Ooh.
I think he's obviously a really good coach. Like when he had them up and running, they were a bloody good team.
Yeah, the drugs probably helped.
When they were up and going.
Going, yeah.
All right, that's a good point. We're putting that in the trailer. That was a great one-liner. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Freo and Adelaide.
Yeah, that's right. So
Adelaide.
We haven't talked about Adelaide yet. Really, from their perspective, probably an underwhelming performance to get matched on a neutral ground against, as we said, a lower team. On the positives, Bryce Gibbs debuted and played all right.
Yeah.
And that would have been a relief for him to sort of get the first win under his belt and to play all right. And secondly, for them to actually win is good practice in itself. I think clubs train for it, playing in a close game simulation, because how important that is to be able to execute under pressure. So for them to successfully come from behind and have a good practice run at running a team over, that's a huge positive for them, even if the whole game didn't go to plan.
I feel like that's exactly an instance where, it shows winners win games, even if it's by Hawthorn. When they're up and going, they win so many games by 13 points, 2 goals or whatever.
Remember they almost lost to Port Adelaide, wasn't it? And that was that 2014 or 2013. It's like 4
points. That prelim,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It was a real close.
Oh, that one, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
true.
They just won.
When all that
three
Adelaide boys like Tony and everyone thought that team was going to be insane.
So
as you said, team just keeps on winning like a winning team.
That's right. So it's JLT and they played a low team, but if they can get used to that winning, I guess it's more about feeling composure in those dying moments.
How how do you train close game simulations?
I don't think you can.
Thing, isn't it?
I don't think you can simulate it at training because you're just doing a drill.
I guess it's just like what you should be doing in these circumstances. I guess they have different strategies. Like they push more people up into different positions. I guess. Like
one of them is training under fatigue, and one thing teams do already is they do a massive leg session and then go train skills or match simulation or something like that. So you're playing as though it's the end of the game. Right. But in terms of the pressure and being composed and making the right decision, there's probably nothing like playing a game where that is the case. And for Freo, on the other hand, obviously they lost the game, but it'll be a good lesson for them to see what happens when you drop off. Mind you, there are some other factors in why they may have dropped off. I think, did Sandy play the last quarter?
Sandy didn't play last quarter.
Yeah, I mean, if you're relying on an 18-year-old in his first game as the lead ruck, there's other factors there.
Mundy, interestingly, said today that he said there's still a disconnect. There's still a bit of a disconnect between the new guys and the older leaders. So he said you just need to give it time.
Yeah. I mean, you guys drafted 10 players or something?
Yeah.
That's like a quarter of your list.
If you look at the Fremantle list in 2015 compared to now, I think there's got to be close to 25, 30 players different.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
a big
crazy.
change. So Ross always talks about those older guys, especially Fife, Mundy, Sandilands, really
Johnson,
striving
maybe.
to Johnson and to a lesser extent when he doesn't have his pants down punching people. But those guys are really striving to, bring the group together and
they train
be good
for those
role models.
They have to train the simulations.
Yeah. In a kebab store. That's where the training sessions are now.
Yeah.
It costs $102 million for them to make. That's
Where Harley Bennell does his calf. The kebab store where Harley Bennell does his calf every other month.
Yeah. They don't start training till 3 a.m. with Harley Bennell.
Well, let's go, boys. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
That's a handball for people who couldn't see what I was doing.
Interestingly, your eyes were very wide then.
That's
sort of suggesting something.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to say about Adelaide? Bryce Gibbs was good.
Gibbs
was good.
I haven't really done them justice. We haven't talked about them much.
Is it Ellis Yeoman?
Ellis Yeoman, yeah.
He was very good.
That's true.
Was he re-rookied? He was delisted and re-rookied.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He was injured last year. I know he's had a rough trot with injuries.
He's a good boy.
Also has claimed to be one of the ugliest players of all time, but
He's got a weird
Racist.
that's not racist.
Not true.
God damn it.
Matt Crouch was good, I felt.
Yeah,
He's not the tail. We need to look at
He's the
photos
king
of
of
him outside football. Just see what they look like in fashion. So, we have a podcast on that.
Yeah.
Top 10 most fashionable players.
Matt Crouch is one I think that could definitely. I talked about Joe Danaher being a next big forward. I think he has potential to be a next big midfielder.
Really?
Matt Crouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
very
probably give him a
impressive.
little bit more coverage in a little bit when we
Okay.
get
To the fantasy
That's
section.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't want to hear about your fantasies.
Bushwhacked.
I'll get to him in the fantasy section.
We got a fank section.
We got a fantasy section called Bushwhack.
It's Bush's fantasy
Private
roommates.
Fantasy dinner guests.
Matt Crouch may make an appearance.
Anyway, all right, look, we've got the last game, West Coast in Port Adelaide, our boys. Now, this game was pretty low scoring, and as you guys know, West Coast won by 2 points yet again over Port with a final minute goal. Lewis Jetta launching it from 65, which was pretty unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. In reality, Brad Shepherd should have been nailed with that tackle.
Yeah.
It was a pretty poor defensive effort by the Port Adelaide player. I can't remember who it was. So they kind of gifted us the win, but we'll take it.
It looked sort of like the usual suspects for West Coast getting them over the line there. I saw Shuey and Gaff both had big games. Redden, this could be turning of the corner for him,
Really
hopefully.
hope so. Hey.
That's the thing. I was going to say, I think the biggest positive for me was the way the midfield performed. Obviously, Port Adelaide are a reasonable midfield team themselves.
Yes.
We fell away in the clearances, but matched them pretty much. We lost the clearances by 3, and we had more contested possessions. And our best players on ground were Gaff, 35 disposals, Shuey and Redden, were both excellent. Sheed was pretty good with his 22
Even Yo was good, but he played limited.
Yeah,
He played
when
a
he
lot
was
more
good
when he played.
when he played in the guts. Sorry, when he played in the guts, he won the ball pretty well.
He was my first quarter best on ground, I'd say.
We've always talked about him not being able to make that transition from backline to midfield, and we basically hid him at last year, and then he tried to push him into midfield. I think in the last kind of few rounds, and he got pretty invisible. Not invisible, but his impact was lessened. I guess Eagles have that issue with players not being able to move from the backline to the midfield, like Duggan as well. And so we're ending up with a lot of players at the half-back line. I mean, Jetta started at half-back and played most of the game at half-back, which I think he excelled. And then you got, you got like Duggan, Hearn, I guess it's more of like a full-back kind of pocket kind of role. Cole, Nelson,
Francis
Watson, he was
he played a bit of half-back, didn't he?
But like
Shepherd, you could argue. He was a failed midfielder.
It's just we have a lot of these players that are all just at the half back and then can't make the transition to midfield. Yeah. But I think Yo showed a lot of promising signs. I don't know how you can train someone to be a better midfielder if they're not a natural midfielder. But
I'd say with Yo, this is the year he becomes a midfielder. If not, you just go, he's a back and leave.
Yeah, it's a good call.
We were even saying that while we were watching the game.
Well, this is the year we've got a vacuum where we've just lost Pedersen Mitchell. We need someone to be standing at more centre bounces.
Yep.
And I'd like to see more of Yo there. It seemed like in the game they just held him back a bit. We didn't see him at that many bounces. And the other one was Archie. Now, he was recruited, I thought, as an inside mid. Came second in the McGarry medal in the Sandford playing as a pure midfielder. Yep. And he spent the whole game as a deep forward or forward player.
Do you think they were hiding him a bit in terms of, he probably was a bit nervous playing against his first AFL game for his new team against his old team?
Would have thought it'd be a good opportunity to just throw him straight in.
To him, yeah.
But,
stick it to him.
Yeah,
that's true. And he ended up with 11 or 12 disposals, I think, or something like that.
And a sore ankle. I think he missed the last quarter.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on Yo, I have seen quite a few times he's said he's sort of basing his game off Fife, and I think the days are gone where you have to be like, he's a backman, he's a midfielder, he's a forward. He could definitely be the Eagles player like Fife, who like you can chuck him up forward, chuck him in the midfield.
Give him the license to roam.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. He seems like that sort of player to me. He's looking, I must admit, when I saw him, I thought, holy shit, he looks so much more powerful than he was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I think that's probably another one that might have come through him saying he's basing his game off Fife. Real big core,
he's got
big
that
quads, big ass.
He's got an athletic profile.
Brett Lee style.
Yeah, Brett Lee style. But those sorts of guys are real powerful. I think he's definitely your dual position sort of guy.
We hope so. I mean, he's got insane attributes. Like athletically, he's just amazing. Doesn't have the leap of Fife, not as strong, but he is really quick. So it'd be amazing if he can play well in all positions. At the moment, I think he personally is the best medium defender in the game. But yeah, I know. Well, he was all Australian. I thought one of the best seasons I've seen from a medium defender for a long time. As a midfielder, he hasn't cut it at all. Obviously, we'll give him one more chance this year. We've also trialled him as a medium forward quite a lot. I remember in the grand final in 2015, he got 5 disposals, completely lost. Like, he probably just lacks the smarts of a Fife.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
While he's got the attributes, he just needs to develop, I guess, some nous.
The way you hear Fife talk, he's a real student, locked-in type dude.
Well, Fife is a skinny flanker who just came in and was an amazing inside mid, straight away. That's just
lottery.
A lot of that's not natural as well.
He was very lucky, Fife. Like, how many times do you draft someone his size and his weight, and then 5 years later they're 20 kilos heavier and 10 centimeters taller? It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that's true.
Genetic lottery.
Yeah. Freo got extremely lucky there.
He's quite unique in that sense. I can't think of another player who came out of nowhere like Fife. Like Dusty and Danger were already freak talents. We knew everything about them when they were drafted, really.
maybe in terms of the growth, like even though I know he was big coming in, but Patrick Cripps, he came in at about 190. He's now 196.
That's true. That's true.
Like,
But
I think Josh
solider.
Eagles Josh Kennedy is possibly another one who's sort of come out of nowhere. But
he was pick 4 though.
He's pick 4.
Carlton.
Yeah.
Okay, but he didn't play, did he? At all at Hawks.
Carlton.
Carlton. No, Josh P. Kennedy for Sydney.
Oh, you said Eagles.
Okay.
Oh, did I say Eagles?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was gonna say. Yeah.
He was. When you said he was pick 4, I was like, holy shit. But no, he was at Hawks. Hardly played at all. Goes to Sydney. Absolute inside
That's a good
mid
point.
beast.
But,
There's not many, is there?
No.
If any.
Yeah. It's just
If any.
How many dudes, you know?
Put on weight like this.
just to get back to West Coast. The biggest positive was the midfield playing well.
Yep.
That's the biggest question mark on us right now. The ball movement was at times scrappy, and it's JLT, but at other times it was fantastic, I thought.
It was a hot day, don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the game
nasty.
dropped off completely in the
Disgusting.
second half. It was a shocking game, yeah. But the ball movement at times was really good. And I think when that happens, you're in pretty good shape. You know, if in the JLT, if you're just shanking everything, I think, you know, you're not looking good for the season. But we won a close game, like I said, the way Adelaide did. That's really good drill. And to win without Kennedy, Naitanui and McGovern, and I know they didn't have Rockcliffe, that's good because they're probably structurally our most important players. So very happy.
I'm thinking, there's a lot of negative stuff coming about Naitanui in the sense of his fitness and things. I do worry that we have to think of a future beyond him.
Tony Alango, the Sudanese rookie.
Well, there you go, get him in. Fast track him. But that's I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're actually blessed that we've got Scott Lycett, who I know he's been injury prone and really hasn't proven himself at all.
Yeah.
But if Nick doesn't play a game this year, we're still miles better off than last year because of Scott. But
Nathan Vardy had a fantastic year last year, and he played a lot of this game up forward as well to cater, to cover for Josh Candy being out to try and give us some structure. If Josh Candy does miss the first few rounds, Naitanui doesn't play, we can afford to have Lycett as number 1 man, which I think he excels at, and have Vardy's kind of pinch hitting as a centre like forward target. He's got a good leap on him and good hands.
You'd have to say Vardy would start in the pecking order behind Lycett and Naitanui, but he was pretty awesome for Vardy. For the expectations you have for Vardy, he was really good yesterday, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Naitanui Lycett Vardy thing, because, as you say, Lycett's the number 1 ruck. Yeah. Vardy is the best forward out of all of them. So if you want 2 rucks, you'd want one of them to be able to play forward. So if Nick's fit, that might mean Vardy plays over Lycett, which is really interesting.
That's a big dilemma. Sorry to go back to Fremantle, but that's a big dilemma at Fremantle. Right? A lot of fans.
With Darcy
is
and
that
Sandilands.
Sean Darcy and Sandilands, they can both only play ruck, and it's going to be interesting. It seems like Sandilands is the number 1 still.
He just doesn't stop, does he?
He's been an amazing player for Freo, but
the difference with Freo, I think, is that the age. Vardy and Lycett are similar age. So is Naitanui. At least with Sandilands, he's probably going to be gone in 1 to 2 years, and Darcy's only 19 years old. He's so young. Depending on how well poised Freo are for finals this year, you could sacrifice a bit of versatility and just play both, and even if it is only for a year while Sandilands is around, and then next year you're not going to have that problem anyway. But it's not like they're both 25.
No,
you might have to trade one of them.
Well, if they were 25, you'd pick Sandilands every day of the week. As good as Sean Darcy is.
Which means, might have to trade one.
Because Sean Darcy, I could see that'd be a good chance for him to practice playing forward, because we need a big, strong forward. And if he had to get thrown into that role for a year because Sandy's still going, it could be a good development.
It could be. I guess.
Is he a natural
Is
forward?
he mobile enough to be a forward? I think he needs it sat on top of his head, otherwise he's doing nothing.
Lloyd Meek looks like he could play forward.
Yeah, Meek, I think he's drafted more as a forward ruck. He's a lot more athletic. Interestingly, he's also 105 kilos. which is very big
Same
for a
weight as
draftee.
Anna Mounsey, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should draft her. But yeah. So I think
We'll keep away
for
from
the
that one,
long
I think.
term, it's going to be Lloyd Meek up forward, Darcy
Yeah.
What a
starting.
name, man. Lloyd Meek. The hell
Yeah.
is that? God, sounds like you live in a castle, hey?
Lord Meek.
Lord Meek. So was there any standout performers for
Back to
Port
West
Adelaide?
Coast.
I know that
Port, okay.
Don Barry
Ex-Melbourne.
played a really good game.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably the best. Obviously, we know Port took tons of recruits last year, and he was probably the standout performer. Obviously, we know he's got an interesting sort of story. Obviously, he went to Melbourne, didn't like it in the city, quit and did some Indigenous leadership program like role,
work.
and now he's back, much more mature and ready for AFL, and played really well, which is good. And we know Rockcliffe didn't play, so while they lost, I guess they have that upside where Rockcliffe's probably the.
And
Off the top of my
Ebert,
head.
did
What's
Ebert
played
play?
well?
I don't think Ebert played.
Ebert
either.
did.
Oh,
Ebert
did he play? I didn't
yeah.
see him all
It was
game.
actually, I think, a stat between all their midfielders, Boak, Wines, Ebert, SPP, and someone else. I think combined they averaged about 11 possessions or something between all their midfield group, which is pretty poor for a team.
I mean,
with
it's
that.
I didn't see
JLT, maybe
Boak
they were
once. Actually, I saw
rotating
Boak
off
once
a bit,
right at the end of the game.
rotating more.
Yeah.
But that's what's actually I thought was he was good for him in the AFLX actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's
true.
very. I mean, his kicking skills are pretty sublime.
AFLX is quite uncontested and
Exactly,
players
yeah, a
who
lot
can
more
kick
time.
like
That's-
that.
Definitely
Jack Watts
suits
where
Jack
it
Watts,
yeah.
doesn't it? AFLX.
I don't know how much of it.
West off
He
Essendon,
captained
probably
them.
like
He
eggs.
captained them in AFLX
Yeah,
actually.
I think he was like the third string captain though. Like, I think
Like
they had a
Duggan
late
was
injury and
yeah.
Robbie Gray didn't captain.
Did Shaw play for Port Adelaide?
Good shot.
Sure.
Gold Coast.
Mackenzie?
Mackenzie,
Robert
sorry.
Shaw.
I don't think he
No, I
did.
didn't remember.
No, because
Yeah.
he's another who's gone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in classic
Elite kick.
Motlop style, I think his hammy was iced before the end of the game. So
Oh.
I don't know what happened with that, but he was. I don't know if that's weeks.
That's
or
true,
what,
yeah.
It's week or what.
Be interesting to see how Motlop turned up in pre-season because I've heard some very average stories about him turning
the
up at
pictures of
Geelong.
him was just huge. Well, not an AFL, not like an AFL condition.
Yeah,
Basically.
I feel like he's going to be one of those ones that as soon as he retires, he just like let's go.
Paul
Yeah,
Hazelby.
bloody oath. Like a
Yeah,
Michael
Paul
Long.
Yeah, Paul Hazelby is another.
I think-
Careful of that.
What we think about Gray getting a week as well for that careless hit on Gov. I'm not sure if anyone saw that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Pretty unlucky one.
But he's still in Brownlow contention. I looked more into this, but
Yes. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I think if you get
Suspended in
I could be making this
JLT,
up.
not a premiership.
I
game?
think that's true. Yeah.
go around just knocking blokes
But
out.
they.
It wasn't exactly that.
Can't just
though,
go
was
around stabbing people.
it? Why did he even bring the knife onto the field?
So the checklet in his sock is the shetty.
The
He does-
MRP has been revamped though, so I'm gonna be honest. I don't know
That's true.
exactly what the new rules are. Isn't there? No, it doesn't matter. I was thinking about something else. No, I think you're right. I think if you get suspended in JLT, you can miss games in the AFL season but still be eligible, which would make sense because you're fairest and best from round 1 to 22 or 23. So you still serve your time, but you
Where you're serving your
don't
time,
get
he's
judged.
missing the next JLT game.
Yeah.
I'll be
Well,
watching him with a fair bit of interest this year. He's one for me that before last year I really thought he had the potential to step up and be one of those Dustin
Premier.
Martin,
Yeah.
Dangerfield type players. When he plays at his best, he's very, very good. He can win games. Great in front of goals. He's almost a little bit of a Gary Ablett.
Definitely, and he's had that kind of comparison his entire
Yeah.
career. I think just hasn't made that next step.
He hasn't.
He lost. I think the second half of last year. Like he had a blind with the first half, but then he kind of drifted off towards the
He
second.
did
half.
have cancer, to be fair, as well.
Yeah. Was that during the
I've
season?
got
I
that,
can't
yeah.
remember exactly when he got it.
I'm not entirely sure, but
Obviously, it's a credit to him to be playing JLT now. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a shaved head. You can. So I don't know how long ago like he was.
yeah.
recovering
I mean,
or
that could just be
whatever.
because he's gone bald, but
SP.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
SPP.
He looks hard
He
now.
looked like Nathan Jones. Same number and everything. Toe ball 2.0. That's literally Nathan Jones's nickname apparently. At Melbourne.
Oh,
That's
really?
Toe ball.
That is good. I think Port are up there. I think Port and West Coast are very similar may not be similar, but in terms of
both have big range.
Yeah,
I'd probably be a bit more confident about Port than I would in West Coast.
I would say that they're probably less in a rebuild than we are, kind of thing. They'd probably be really wanting to push top 4, top 6.
Yeah. Well, you saw that we had completely different off seasons. We loaded up on youngsters, and they loaded up on
exactly
on a lot of fringe players, which I think they overdid it. Yes, they gave up almost nothing, and some of them were very astute pickups, but I think there's a few that just wasted.
I think Hinckley is under a lot more pressure than Simpson. He doesn't have the time to draft 18-year-olds and do
it's true.
a little rebuild. He's sort of, if he wants to save his career, he needs to go now, pretty much.
It's true.
Because 2014, when they made that prelim, everyone's like, all their stars were like 20 years old. They're like, this is going to be the team of the future.
Wingard didn't play, did he, on the weekend, actually?
No, Lindsay Thomas did, so just about a like for replacement.
Like for
yeah, I mean, something like that's a bit random. It's a bit desperate, I guess. I mean, you can't blame them. They haven't given up anything for it. It's a rookie spot, but it's just you want to see some direction with your list management moves.
Personally, I have West Coast actually a tier above Port Adelaide at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Port don't have the quality that West Coast do. Josh Kennedy, obviously, we know how good he is. I don't think any of the Port midfielders are as good as Shuey.
How many All-Australians they have last year? Did they have
none?
Who they have had? Paddy Ryder wasn't in there, was he? No.
Was
Pittard?
Nah.
No. None. I don't had any.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Dixon, I mean, they've got some good
they've got some good
players, but not consistent. I guess not consistently good to win all Australian.
They've got a lot of B+.
Yeah, that's
players.
Like the spine, you'd have like Dixon,
Westhoff.
Tom Jonas is pretty good key defender.
They're sort of a Richmond without the Dustin Martin.
Yeah, maybe that's a fair call.
I still think they have the quality. Yeah.
I mean, obviously we know Wingard and Wines are supremely talented. Oh, Sam Powell-Pepper is a freak, but he's just a bit young.
And Wingard had a pretty average year, I think, for his standards last year. Plus, like I said, Gray.
He's Australian, isn't he?
Gray was down. Hamish Harlett, he's completely. I don't know what's happened to him.
They tried to trade him, didn't they? At the end of
there's a lot of rumours that Wines wants out.
That'd be big.
So I feel like they're on the. They're a real like cusp
It's a weird
team.
State, yeah.
They could.
State of their list.
They could be like sitting 5 on the ladder. And I could also see them sitting like 12th on the ladder.
I don't see him as far down as 12th. I see him maybe a 9.
I'd agree with that. I'm
not saying 3 spots, but like I think like just in terms of the teams competing for that, probably. I guess we'll talk about this again later. But Port, West Coast.
They did finish 5th, to their credit.
Yeah, I know.
I think people forget that
was
because
an underperforming year. That's true. You would call that an underperforming year for them last year, but they still finished 5th.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that they lost in the first week of the finals, I think people forget that they finished 5th.
That's true.
But yeah, adding Rockcliffe,
he's a good add.
You don't want to, you can't underestimate how important he will be for them. A really solid B+.
One of the best contested players in the comp.
Yeah.
Between him, Wines, and Powell-Pepper, they're getting any contested ball.
That is true. They're going to be very good from
3 balls right there.
Yeah. Which makes it crazy that the Eagles matched them in the midfield. And in a tight final last year, I don't know how we won.
There's always positives and negatives. I mean, with a midfield that big, are they going to suffer from a bit of pace? Maybe that's why we saw them get the Watson Motlop.
Yeah, that's a pretty good observation.
Very true. Very happy for the Eagles. I hope big things for Jack Wren. I love you, Jack. I know you watch this.
Jack Poole was excellent. He was just everywhere, and he's one that was really struggling on a forward flank for
It was
a year and a half.
frustrating to see him at the forward flank.
Yeah, and I think in some ways Pritis and Mitchell leaving sort of frees up our midfield a lot. Obviously Redden gets more time at the coalface. I feel like our two-way runnings improve without 2 slow players.
Gaff was kicking excellently, 35 disposals. I mean, that's back to form. He's probably, I wonder if he's doing a lot less defensive running. Now we have more players that have pace instead of a Sam Mitchell and a Pritis, and he's not chasing basically.
I think his ankle was stuffed last year as well.
Was, yeah.
You know, he was struggling.
Imagine that.
At times,
trying to play AFL on a stuffed ankle.
Yeah,
We know he's got the potential.
Yeah.
It's a contract year as well for Gaff. So
Yeah.
I guess for everyone, he'd want to play pretty well.
That's
I
true.
guess.
Yeah.
I think Gaff and McGovern are ones the Eagles definitely want to lock down. I mean, especially McGovern. But I'm sure they'd be wanting Gaff too. He's a really good role model at the club.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
I actually think he's one of the
player.
toughest players in the AFL, which is sounds
hit.
bizarre because he's scrawny as hell. One, he throws himself into contests against much bigger guys, and B, I think I know that he has to try so much harder than most players to get his body right for each week. And the fact that he played last year, half a year with not a broken ankle, sorry, but like a wrecked ankle, just shows the sort of character he's got.
Incredible, isn't it? I mean, an ankle is, his kicking ankle, I think.
Ankles are gnarly.
As well.
A lot of the young guys, to be honest, don't get enough credit for smaller guys don't get enough credit for how brave they have to be to play against people that.
Athletic.
One for Freo is Ballantyne, who's had his jaw broken 4 times.
That's rough. Yeah.
And if you watch him play, he'll go in harder than anyone else.
And these are players that, like, Gaff's not athletically talented. Like, he can't put on muscle like other players. He's still kind of a scrawny kind of bloke. Not athletically gifted. Camo from Victoria as well when he's 17, 18 or whatever. And he's stayed with us the whole time and just worked on his game so hard. He had that stretch of X-Man until Tom Jonas knocked him out cold. He had that stretch of just game after game after game. He's an incredible player, incredible role player of the club, I guess.
Could he be a future captain?
You don't hear it talked about. I don't think
Sorry.
I don't think he's well liked enough by the public either because he's an outside player.
He is quite shy as well.
I don't think he's part of the leadership group.
That's true. He's also not. But
interesting.
I think Shuey is definitely the next man in line. He's the vice captain. Kennedy's the other vice captain, but Shuey just fits that age, right? And I think Shuey just leads by the front so much more than any other player.
He's one of the best midfielders we've ever had, and Eagles have had some good midfielders, but
it's a big call.
Well, I think.
I think
he goes. You probably wouldn't almost have Pritis top 3, and he's one of Brownlow.
I'd have Shuey above Pritis, but not in terms of what he's done for the club, probably to be honest. But
it's a tough one.
But I think
it's hard to make the argument on paper why Shuey would be better than Pritis because obviously what Pritis achieved, and Shuey, I don't know if he's just achieved as much as his potential suggests. I think he's one of the best players to watch we've had. I think he's one of the most attractive to watch players in the league. I think of the guys I love to watch most. Oh my god, this is sounding terrible.
The women just never came in, man.
Not even on the field.
For 25 minutes.
Just down the beach.
I think Shuey's just such I'm going to say it, attractive player because his skills are sublime and he's just very well rounded. Which makes him his cheeks are really well rounded. That's disgusting. But it's hard to rank him above Pritis, and we know you've got Matera, Judd, Kerr, Mainwaring, Kemp. As well.
Shuey's definitely, I think, the player's player. As a non-Eagles fan, I've been hearing about Shuey since he was drafted. Even like 3 years before I even saw him play a game, I was like, "Who is this Shuey kid? This guy must be amazing." So, obviously,
I
think he seems like the player's player. So he's probably a good call for next captain.
You're right when you say there's still another level he can get to.
I think he still hasn't fulfilled his potential. He put in an A grade performance against Port. If he plays like that week in, week out,
that's the thing. I mean, that's the problem. Like seeing him play in the elimination final, and then in it was GWS, I think, the year before when Nat Nui kicked the goal. I mean, he's an incredible player when he's on like match winning midfield, which we haven't had really for. Well, yeah.
He's had no support for his whole career as well. Like he hasn't played in a really good midfield ever. I think he's been our most important midfielder. But
how old is he?
26? He's 28 this year, 28. So 27. Yeah.
So he's sort of, if he is going to do it, it needs to be now.
Yeah, definitely. That's
true. All right. Well, we've probably covered the JLT enough. Do you guys just want to have a quick break, just to make sure all the cameras are still on? To be honest. We are back, and Busher and Joyce here are about to take us through their favourite AFL fantasies. Is that what you said?
Oh, mate. There's this one where I'm repeatedly punching Matt Taber in the face.
Fantasy.
So hot.
Are you naked or
Yeah, is this a sexual fantasy?
BDSM? Some people like it.
So you do like...
Showing my playroom.
I'm
Not
not
one of
a
those
fan.
boxing bags with Matt Tabs.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Or it's just Matt Taberner tied up and with Busher with a massive strap on. Push. Oh,
No
yeah.
guts.
Yeah, you told me it was a donkey punch. Oh, God, Google's going to ban us for
Donkey
shocking
punch.
content.
Yeah.
All right, we can just edit all that out.
Yeah.
All right, boys. So
Back
why
from
don't
the
we
break.
have why don't we have a bit of a crack at a fantasy segment?
Okay. So what Busher and I have done, we've named who we think are going to be the top 5 players per position in terms of average in fantasy. So we took a missionary doggy. No.
The True Footy Podcast, appropriate for all ages.
Yeah. Can't say the word position anymore, apparently. So per spot on the ground, Busher, we're going to start with backs. So
Backs, okay.
who are your top 5 backs?
In no particular order, I've got these guys, one of their favourite sons, Elliot Yeo. I've got him in there. I've sort of based on the fact that he's probably going to be playing a bit more in the gut, so he'll get more of the ball.
Yep.
That's a fair
And
call.
even put up good stats as a backman, like with his rebound 50s, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you get a few, like, I'm a fantasy noob, but you get quite a few points from marks, right? So
I think so,
he's
yeah.
a big intercept marker, so even if he's
Exactly.
playing in the back line, I can
He
see
averaged like 98 last year.
And I feel like a lot of his possessions would be kicks as well because of his
True.
spot on the ground.
Yeah.
That's true.
I've also got Ryan Burton from Hawthorn. I feel like, because he's also one where there's a bit of tout about him spending more time in the guts, plus he's young. It was only his first year last year and he was outstanding, so
Yeah.
hopefully he can improve from his first year and build on it. And
Yeah,
Like,
another
Is he at a
good
good
call.
price? Is he at a good price kind of thing though?
He's expensive,
yeah.
but I guess because he's
if
young.
we're going value, I probably would have done this a bit differently, but in terms of guys who will get the most points, I feel like he could be a top 5.
Is there a risk that you might have second year blues or something like
There
that?
is
Or
risk
Yeah,
of
that is
that,
a
yeah.
risk.
For
I think
that-
it's third
that
year,
price
actually.
point? Third year?
I think so.
Second, I think. Maybe second.
Maybe. You might be right.
There's also, though, I mean, the chance that he could go further up because
Yeah.
he's young. So
It's
it's
Yeah.
a
I've
more
taken the
risk.
big call.
optimistic.
It's a big call.
I've taken the optimistic view there.
I'm not sure
Another
if I
one.
see him as a midfielder.
Yeah, I'm not too
Just
sure. I've
personally.
heard talk of it though. Like I've heard talk of it, but I don't know if it'll actually happen. But either way, I
Yep.
like his game. My next one I've got is Jakey Lloyd from Sydney.
Yep.
He's another one that's pretty young who's sort of grown into a role,
Yeah,
and now he's sort of in that role. He'll continue to.
I had
thrive,
him
feel.
in my team last year, and he's really consistent and
Yeah.
really reliable fantasy player.
I mean, he can't be that young, can he? I mean, how long ago
He's
was
not
the Phantom Menace?
ridiculously young.
I think he's like 23, 24.
I see what you did.
Yeah,
there.
thank you. If anyone just missed
I got that
joke.
reference. I got that. Don't worry.
I said Phantom Menace.
He played young Anakin Skywalker. If anyone needs a captain, obvious explanation.
Yes,
on that
yes,
one.
the actor who played it was Jake Lloyd. All right,
Yep.
moving on.
Okay. The next one I've got is Rory Laird. Well, because Adelaide will be good again.
Speaks for himself,
He's
that one.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've got Michael Hurley because the Dons, the Bombers, are sort of geared up to be pretty good now. Just
Really geared up.
You can't see that, man.
James Hurd's not there anymore.
yeah, you'll get plenty of it. They're sort of set up to compete now, despite their performance in JLT one against Richmond.
Interestingly, I have all the same as you, apart from I don't have Burton. I've got the evergreen Cade Simpson. Someone who just churns out fantasy points week
Yeah.
in, week out for years.
Probably an
My
underrated.
one
player,
hesitation with his age, it's like he's due to drop off at some stage.
I mean,
it's always a bit.
I feel like people have been saying that about him for 5 years.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
And
He dominated
the
game.
only position he can play is like half back. He's
Yeah,
an elite
loose.
kicker.
Yeah.
So I feel like so long as he's playing, he's going to get pretty good numbers.
yeah.
So moving into midfield, Busher, who have you got? Who's your number one midfielder? I think there's a pretty
Tommy
obvious
Mitchell.
choice there. Yeah.
Tommy Mitchell, he
Yeah.
just gets that cheap posse. He just
Yeah.
racks it up.
What was his average last year? I don't suppose he averaged.
He averaged like 120 something. in
Yeah.
fantasy.
I think it's one of the highest averages, if not the
I
highest.
think it was the.
Yeah.
I was going to say he's the most prolific ball winner of all time, really.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of one.
To be
season.
fair,
One
Lockie
season,
Neal was
yeah.
the most prolific ball winner ever going into the season where Tommy
Yeah.
took him, but Neal's averages weren't near what Tommy Mitchell's.
Again, I'm a fantasy new, but what do you think Mitchell gets over Neal in terms of like getting points?
Ooh, maybe
Still gets slightly higher disposals than Neal.
Yeah,
But
that
he
wouldn't
does.
account for.
Does he get any more kicks? Probably not.
Probably
more
not.
kicks?
No.
Could be more kick. Maybe Mark, because he might take it. I don't watch many Hawthorn games, so I'm basically.
I don't think he gets many marks.
He's about 10 centimetres taller than Neal, so that puts him in a good position to get more marks. But anyway.
Okay. And I think there's a pretty obvious number 2 as well after Tom Mitchell. Are you...
Ooh, I couldn't really decide. I've sort of got a few. I've got a few names there actually. I was sort of going to pick which 5 I ever felt at the time, but
Well,
I'll name the 2 I think that you might be thinking of. I've probably got 1 or 2.
Okay.
Zachy Merritt or Dangerfield?
Yeah, Dangerfield is number 2, but
my
to be fair, Merritt is a good shout.
My trepidation with Danger was with like the Gary Ablett and that many guys. There's only so much ball they can all get. Like
that's a fair observation actually.
Like there's guys that would be sort of taking points off each other almost. Cause,
I mean,
good call.
Their depth.
Yeah, that's true. But I think dominant. Dangerfield is still the main man.
He's still obviously the main man. He'll still be dominant. He's still top 5 mid.
Zach Merritt is a good shout, and he's another one who's extremely consistent. I think Mitchell and Merritt a lot more consistent than Dangerfield.
Yeah.
In terms of their points. Another one I've gone with is Dane Zorko, who we saw a couple of times last year is capable of massive scores.
Well, I've got him on my list because funnily enough, for a top 5, I've actually got a list of 8. And I was sort of going to decide.
So you did it wrong.
I was sort of going to decide as I went along.
No, that's
But I've got Zork in that list.
I think Zorko's not that necessarily you should put too much thought into the AFL player rankings, but I'm pretty sure he's top half a dozen, maybe a little bit lower than that. So obviously he's generating numbers if he's statistically like top
I think we've seen the player ratings really value stat winners. Lockie Neal, according to player rankings, is number 10 in the AFL now, which I know a lot of people were like, what?
I'm a Dockers fan.
I'm a Dockers fan, but he's not in the top 10 in the AFL, and probably in the top 30 maybe, or top 40.
I think Shuey's like 13 or 15. I want to say he's top 15, which is odd because he's actually not a prolific ball winner compared to some other people. I'm guessing Mitchell's probably high up
as well. He's just very attractive, I think.
Yeah, just a very attractive player from behind.
A couple more I sort of earmarked as well was like Matt Crouch. I feel he can take another step up this year.
Good shout.
Sloaney might slow down a little, even though they got Gibbs now as well, which sort of...
I mean, Crouch has his... The big ball winners always do well, and I think that's why Crouch will do well, because he's always going to get good numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And then I sort of there's 3 that I sort of I didn't know which one I've got, like a Mark Murphy, a Dusty, and a Taylor Adams.
Mark Murphy, I think that's a risky shout, I reckon.
He was one of the highest priced guys, funnily enough. I think with Gibbs gone, he could probably...
That's true. I think he had very big numbers at the start of last year and then dropped off quite a bit.
He kind of already carries their midfield though.
He does.
I mean, how much more can he really shoulder? Not, I'm just my I'm not saying you're wrong.
I've got Dustin Martin at number 5 just because I think he's pretty consistent now. And he's also capable of those 120, 130 scores.
Taylor Adams had some monster scores last year.
Taylor Adams
had some 160s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a bit annoyed that you can't select him as a back because he would have been a lock-in back this year. He's now only a midfielder.
He would have been my number 1 back, probably.
Which is similar for me with Gary Ablett. I wanted to pick him as a forward, but he's only available as a midfielder.
Really?
If it was averages, if I was sure he was going to play every game, I'd pick him every day of the week, Gary Ablett, but you just feel like he's doing well to get over like 15 games this season.
Very true.
Yeah.
Here's one similar to my argument for Simpson. I was a bit worried, like Father Time's going to start catching up with him. Because literally, this is a common saying in the NBA, Father Time always wins. Like,
it's a nickname.
Players can't last forever, sort of thing. They're going to have to drop off at some stage.
That's enough. Track.
So was your 5 sort of similar, different? Or?
Yeah, so my 5 was Mitchell Dangerfield and Merritt Zorko Martin for the mids.
Yeah.
So pretty much exactly the same as yours. Now going into the forward line.
Yeah. I've got Sammy Menengola because he's pretty much a mid, but you can only play him as a forward.
See, for me, Menegola, I was unsure whether to pick him because, especially with Gary Ablett coming in, there's a lot of talk that Kelly's going to be getting game time. I'm not even sure if he's going to be able to squeeze into that midfield. I think he's going to miss games
after his form, though.
I feel like he might miss games, to be fair.
If he has a shit start, they'll drop him quickly if he has a bad start.
Yeah, so I think he's a bit more risky, especially for the price. He's the most expensive forward in fantasy this year.
Yeah. Wow.
But because he's pretty much a mid for the forward, really.
Okay. So who else have you got?
I got Isaac Heaney because again the more time in the guts logic.
Yeah, I got Heaney.
And he's a young up and comer.
He scores most weeks. He's a good scorer.
Yeah. A similar logic on my next one, Jack Billings.
Yeah,
except I don't think you'll see him in the guts as much as you.
I think he's
Heaney,
a bit more inconsistent. But I think did he get a score of like 190? I think possibly the highest score ever, or very close to last season. He kicked like 5 goals, 30 disposals, one of those sorts of games.
He's one of those guys that can just put it up.
Yeah.
And then my last 2, sort of Toby Green. Well, he's had some good form the past few years, and might put the pressure on himself to shoulder a bit more of the load with some of the injuries they've had. Like
I've had Toby Green last 2 seasons, and he's great for scoring.
Yeah, consistent.
I got to say, he gets suspended so much that it just really pisses you off that you need to swap him out, and in that often.
Come on, Toby.
Surely there's a point in which he will grow up. You know, I mean, how old is he? He's like
some players just don't even grow up. Like
I suppose
Warwick Kappa. Like look at him.
Yeah.
And then Buddy because he's Buddy.
Yeah. So I've got a pretty similar list to you. Apart from I've got Michael Barlow in there because purely for the fact, same as Menegola and Heaney, that he was playing pretty much purely as a midfielder. Yeah. It's just, how's he going to be after, was it another leg break last year? But I think if he plays, he's the sort of guy that always gets numbers.
As well.
Yeah, and he's a bit cheaper as well. So he's another one that's a bit high risk, high reward. And then moving into your rucks.
For my rucks, I've got
top 3.
I've gone pretty just cliche here. Just Brodie Grundy, Matt Crozer, Stefan Martin.
Yeah, I've got the exact same 3.
The three most expensive guys.
It's hard to look.
There's a reason they're the 3 most expensive.
Okay, so now we're going to move into bargain buyers. So this is one that every year this is where people can get really good picks. Who have you got as your bargain buyers for this year?
Okay, bargains. I've sort of got Nick Nat.
Yep.
Because he's 417k, which is a lot cheaper than those free ruckmen I cheap. But if he's on song, he can produce as much as those guys, if not perhaps more.
He's a walk-in.
He's cheap. In fact, he's cheaper than Scott Lysette, who only averaged 58.
Yeah, I think he's 480.
417.
417. Yeah, so he's really cheap.
Yeah.
I guess he's another one that's slight risk over how many games he'll play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a walk into most teams.
Yeah. I've also got Rory Lobb, he's listed purely as a forward, but he's the number 1 ruck in GWS now, so he'll be around the ground taking grabs. You get points for taps, so he'll be pretty steady there.
Yeah.
What's he worth?
467 foul.
So yeah, that's pretty cheap for a ruck.
I've got an expensive one here. It's sort of a bit iffy. Because I've got 6, but I sort of had Max Gawn as a half. He's sort of like because he's still expensive, but you could consider him a bargain. Yeah. Like he's sort of one I had as an asterisk next to, if you will. Yeah. I've also got an interesting one I thought was Jared Berry from Brisbane. This is one people might be... Because like his last 5 games he averaged 78, 84 in his last 3, and he had a real slow start when they first brought him into the team, adjusting to AFL level. But once he adjusted to it, he looked pretty good.
He's probably another one a bit high risk, high reward because he is pretty expensive already, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 420k.
Yeah, so it's a bit to outlay, but
it's a gamble.
Yeah,
very highly rated at Brisbane and Jared Berry. I guess I think they want him to become a mid. I think he might become more of a utility type. So That's something to bear in mind as well. Probably not going to be playing too many midfield minutes, or at least.
Especially now they got a lot of good young mids. They got McCluggage, they got Cam Rayner.
And then even they've still got Beams, Mitch Robinson.
Matheson.
Yeah, they got a lot of mids there. I got a couple of real cheapies that I think could, like the guys that are like the seller type price guys that could be
So
good.
are these newbies or are these bargain buyers?
Bargain buyers.
Okay.
Well, I've got Paul Ahern.
Yeah.
He's like 170k, which is the lowest price in the game.
Yeah.
He was a very highly rated player. He was drafted picked 6 or 7 by GWS a few years ago. However, he's had a real rough trot with the injuries. But however, he's finally healthy this year. So he's one, especially in North Melbourne's rebuilding, he could be a youngie. He's still pretty young. They put games into him, give him a real crack.
Yeah.
And then Alex Pearce as well. He's only 197,000. He's returning from injury. He'll probably likely slot back into Freo's 22.
He will definitely if he's fit.
And then looked promising in the first JLT game as well.
I guess Pearce is a good money earner, but he probably isn't going to be one that earns you enough points.
Yeah.
So I think
he'd
he's
be
a
a
good
bit of a cash
bench
cow.
spot. Yeah, he's a good cash cow.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I've gone quite different to you, although I think all of yours are good picks. I've gone first up Fife, who is one that is quite expensive, but last 2 seasons he hasn't been at his highest level, so I think there's still good potential for him to go up.
My thing was with Fifey, even when he was like at the peak of his powers, his Dream Team stats weren't that. Like his 2015 Brownlow year, or it was 15
Yeah.
Brownlow year.
Yeah.
Even that, like, he only averaged like 108 or something.
Yeah.
Like, because he's one of those guys who will only get like 27 touches, but they'll be like 27 of the sickest touches you've ever seen. I'm exaggerating a bit there, but you know what I mean. He's like quality, not quantity as such. That's why I sort of.
Yep. I've also got Nick Nunui.
Yeah.
I think that one speaks for itself. He's missed quite a bit through injury, so he's gone down in price. I've gone Alan Christensen. He's missed a lot of football. I think he could be a decent cash cow. Also, he's the sort of player that I think he can kick a few goals. But I more see him as a cash cow rather than a long-term prospect. I've gone Angus Brayshaw. Yeah. You can select him as a back this year as well, which I think is handy because he's going to probably play a lot of midfield minutes, and I think he's got potential. Although he's another high risk, high reward. We don't really know what's going to happen, especially with his health.
A lot of these like bargain guys are a bit high risk, high reward because there's a reason they're priced so low, obviously.
And the last one I've gone is Harley Bennell. We know how good he can be if he's on the field.
He's one of the rare X Factor players who can win a fair chunk of the ball as well, which helps him.
I think at Gold Coast he had a couple of like plus 30 disposal, like 4 goal games.
Exactly.
So I guess if he's one that, and he's ridiculously cheap because of the amount of football he's missed, but he's an extremely high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
So
it's too risky. That's it's with the latest. If it wasn't for the latest calf thing, I probably would have picked him myself. But
I think he's one to wait for the teams to come out. If you see that he's selected in the team, then pick him up.
Yeah.
But he's not one to pick up at the start of the season. Just wait till he's 100% selected for a game.
Yeah.
So the last section we've got newbies. And I think obvious number one. I know I'm a Freo fan, but Brayshaw,
I've got him in my list as well. Andy Brayshaw, I'm assuming you're hinting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably going to play.
Yeah, I've got it in my notes.
Just about every
play
game.
round 1 and will produce.
Yeah.
Another one I've got is Paddy Dow, who's had a good pre-season from what I've read.
Yeah.
And he's probably earmarked as like a straight in for Gibbs. Not obviously Gibbs, but he's straight in there and he'll be expected to be like a contributor early.
Straight in there for Gibbs, obviously not Gibbs.
I'm saying he's not as good as Gibbs.
I've got, for that reason, Davies Uniacke. Because
I've got
I think
Uniacke as well.
He's another that's got potential of playing every game of the season.
Yeah. In my notes, I've got Uniacke, probs plays round 1, arguably their 3rd best midfielder already, probably a future franchise player.
Yeah.
That's true. I think they're going to give him every opportunity, Davies Uniacke, and as you say, if he gets a lot of time at the centre bounces, which you'd expect, I reckon he could rack up the ball, definitely.
Another one for me that sounds like is a good chance for round 1 is Stevenson.
I was close, but
you can select him as a forward as well, which helps as well.
He had some crazy TAC Cup games, like 4 goals, 39 possessions, maybe 5 goals even.
But I think he could probably be, he's probably a bit more of a long-term prospect rather than an immediate impact type player. But
I think with his speed, he could be an asset straight away, to be honest, personally. And if he can keep his tank up, then, he could probably find the ball 20 times a game. So.
Yeah.
Because I had Timmy Kelly, because he was an old, like, if you're an older player taken like as early as he was, you're pretty much expected to be straight in.
Yeah.
And like he's had some monster games, like for South Freo last year. He's a guy that will be able to produce. And then my other one was James Warple.
Okay.
Because I was reading Hawthorn think they've got midfield depth issues, so he might be straight in the guards.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
And I gave him bonus points as well because he'd be a lot cheaper than these other guys because he was a pick 40 or whatever it was.
No, that's a good shout. My last two I've gone for is Bailey Banfield. After the weekend, I think he's a good shout to get more game time.
He's a real good ball winner, which he has going for him. Obviously, the concern would be, is he going to play that many games? Yeah.
And the other one I've gone for is Venables from the Eagles. Purely because I think he's a good chance to play just about every game. Hasn't played yet, so he's extremely cheap, and he can be selected as a forward.
That's true. I think he's actually going to play as a forward. Judging by the JLT, I think I saw him at 2 bounces, but I think he'll be playing like a lacrosse style lead up forward and maybe push up the ground. So once he gets his confidence up, he could probably find a little bit more of the ball than he has, but hopefully he comes on pretty quick.
Yeah. I like the Venables call. That's good. Yeah, I'll give credit for
nice.
Yeah, so that's it for our fantasy section.
I'm impressed, boys. That was good. Obviously, Lou and I aren't big fantasy players, so good to have some insight.
Terrible. Yeah,
we should make a True Footy podcast league, actually.
So you actually want to do it this year?
Yeah, I might. Yeah, I always make a team for round 1 and then forget about it.
Yeah.
I remember fluking my way into a final somehow. I think that was one of my Sibs leagues, and then just got absolutely smashed. I think by Arthur Newen. I think actually.
Oh, okay.
I nearly won some league I was in last year. It wasn't like the one with all the boys I know that really get into it and go to the Dream Team talk pubs and stuff. It was like a few older boys and stuff, but I'm pretty into it for old boys. But I've almost won the Grandy, I think.
How important is strategy?
That's helped me get into it
in fantasy football. How important is strategy?
It's very important. You want your game to play a real good, attractive football. You don't want.
I want a good forward press.
It's buying and selling assets, really.
Yeah,
that's
much.
It is.
Buying high, selling high, buying low type thing.
I'm doing it wrong.
Like coming in for Gibbs, but not Gibbs.
Obviously not Gibbs. All right, boys. Well, I noticed this has been a long podcast, so we'll move into our final segment and try and wrap it up pretty quickly. During the week, I asked you boys to all prepare your predicted ladders for the season, as we are getting pretty close to round 1. And I said I'd compile them and make our official True Footy podcast predicted ladder, which is funny because it might not reflect any of our views. But no,
it's an aggregate.
It is an aggregate, exactly right. So I'm not going to take you through each of our individual ones. I will just give you a few dot points that were interesting about each of our ones.
Yep.
I'll start with Joycey. You had Collingwood as bottom 2 this year.
Yep.
Okay,
Ooh.
Why? Just very short and brief. Why?
Yeah, I know it's a big call. I just personally don't see... they got the good top-end talent, but I don't think they have the players to follow that up. I think, honestly, I don't have any faith in Buckley as a coach. I don't have faith in their list management. I think it's been pretty poor over the last couple of years. So, yeah, it was actually more of a case of I see Gold Coast, Brisbane, Carlton, those teams improving rather than Collingwood getting worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yep.
That's why I went with that.
The other thing, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but in the last podcast, I remember you saying you thought Freo would finish higher than West Coast.
Yep.
In the one you submitted, you've changed now, and you've put West Coast higher than you said before. Is there any particular reason?
Yeah.
Did I?
You put them up by like 2
I thought
spots.
I
think I said that.
I thought I had West Coast 9, Freo 10.
No, it was the other way around.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I know it was about a month ago we did it, but...
Wasn't it me in the last podcast that said Freo would be higher?
I mean, personally...
We say that every week.
I don't know. I thought I didn't say
It's
that.
on record, all right,
But
mate, just
all
move
right,
fast. Yeah.
If we're going with it, then I guess I've changed my mind.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, I think.
Anything to do with JLT, or is it just...
No, I think it's a little early for Fremantle. I think people are jumping the gun a little bit, I think, still.
Okay.
Most of their quality players are still in their young 20s. So I think people are jumping the gun again. I think Eagles have... Their players are in a really good age bracket. They got a lot of decent players in that sort of mid-20s to older 20s range now.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably going to perform better for majority of the season. I think Fremantle, you'll probably see a little bit more last season, a lot high highs, low lows.
Cool. Yeah, nicely done. All right, now I'll move on to mine. To put myself under the spotlight, I, in the last podcast, talked up Essendon as a future flag chance this year. They were my roughie call, and I have completely lost confidence in them after watching them get belted. Now, you might say that's a knee-jerk reaction, but to be honest, I kind of only picked them as my roughie. I don't know if I actually really see their list as anywhere near as good as the top teams. I picked them, I guess, because nobody would have picked Richmond last year and the Bulldogs the year before that. And yeah, at the moment, I think I picked them to just miss the 8. And the other one I had was GWS dropping to 6th. I had them lower than anyone, I think. Thought, the whole depleted backline, lost Mumford. I think they're a bit unsettled and could see them just slipping down a little bit.
Okay.
There's a lot of pressure on them, I guess, to continue the form lines the last few years and then to improve upon that.
Yeah.
It could,
So certain players have got to stand up and be leaders now, like Toby Green we talked about. You can't keep getting suspended. Jeremy Cameron's probably going
it to happen.
I think we have seen in the past, just because a team performs well when the players are young, people just assume it's going to be a generation of dominance by that team. We saw it, Collingwood did win the flag, but I remember everyone was saying, all these guys, Sherrod, Wellingham, Pendlebury, all these guys are real young. These guys are going to dominate for the next 5 years, and it just doesn't quite happen. Port Adelaide's another. So
Never
GWS could fall into that category.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Bush, move to you real quickly. Now, you were the only person that put Fremantle ahead of West Coast, so could you just elaborate on that?
Well, I sort of... Ooh. Now, all the talking up for West Coast...
Did I say that?
I did say that. I definitely did say that, but a lot of things would have to go right in that prediction. I will concede, Fife would have to have a hell of a year, starters. But I sort of felt like the Eagles' midfield is there's a lot of questions there. I saw some good signs on the JLT, I got to admit, that sort of made me reevaluate that a bit, but I'd still want to see it in the season. But that was a tough, literally when I did my ladder, it was I had a top third, a middle third, and a bottom third. But my middle third had about 10 teams in it, and I had to pick guys from that to go up.
That's
there was
true.
10 teams in that middle category. There was 4 teams that had clearly got good lists, and there was 4 teams that are clearly crap, for a lack of a better term.
Fair enough. All right, and the other one, you were the only person who had Hawthorn bottom 4.
Yeah, I'm just not that big on their list, really.
Fair enough. They're in a transition period, aren't
exactly.
they? And there's no doubt they haven't drafted enough kids lately. You can understand it, but...
I'd almost say they overperformed last year.
I'm a big... I'm actually a fan...
of the Hawks.
Of Hawks at the moment. I think... I'm just a big fan of Alistair Clarkson. I think he's one of the best cultural coaches in the game. And I think... as much as they paid for Tom Mitchell and O'Meara, if that clicks, it could be a very, very good midfield.
It's a massive risk, isn't it?
Hodge, Lewis,
Gibson.
and Mitchell.
Yeah.
And those are, I guess, Burgoyne's still there. He's kind of a heart and soul of the club as well. But they've lost a lot of leaders and a lot of culture through just that. I guess they're trying to rebuild it now.
I found teams when they... or at least sometimes, when they fall off the perch and they're a top team and they try and rebuild, I feel like they often overrate the youth. I remember it happened at West Coast 10 years ago. I think we backed in our youth too much. Didn't didn't realise we didn't have the youth the other teams did. And I'm worried about Hawthorn. As you say, they've got the best tactical coach and probably cultural coach in the league. But whether they just have that quality, if O'Meara doesn't get up, like Mitchell on his own is not going to be enough.
Who else is in their midfield other than those two, really? Will Langford.
God, put me on the spot here.
You can understand why they were pretty desperate to keep Brad Hill, I think. I think Clarkson referred to Brad Hill as like a son before he left.
Really?
Yeah. That's how close.
And he won a best and fairest his first year. It shows he's a key guy.
Had a fantastic season, actually. Probably, I'd say his best season.
Yeah.
What does that say about Hawthorn when Billy Hartung leaves? Probably like some people are saying, best player at North already. Brad Hill leaves.
Yeah.
Best player at Fremantle.
Yeah.
And they're only like average players at Hawthorn. I mean, I know this is from a couple of years ago for these guys, not currently, but says good things about their list.
Definitely, all right, move on to Louis. You were the only person to have Richmond outside the top 4.
Oh,
yeah, interesting. Okay. You had them 5th.
I think I went with a pretty conservative ladder, to be honest. I don't think there was too many surprises in mine. I don't know.
What makes you think Richmond are going to slip? Do you think they're a bit of a hangover?
I think it'd just be improvement from other clubs. I think Sydney, who I think I had first, actually, will. Yes, I just think they perform the same as last year, which would be a hard thing to emulate. Then with other teams improving, I don't know. I just don't think they can't get in the top 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just don't think they'll win enough games against these other teams that are improving.
Okay.
In their positions last.
Who did you have at 4th? Just.
Jeez, I'd have
do you remember?
Look there
I
again.
will have it somewhere. Geelong.
Yeah. Okay. So you had Sydney.
It was a pretty conservative top 4. Sydney, Adelaide, GWS.
Okay. Geelong.
Yeah.
GWS is I reckon them and Geelong I'd probably bracket them and Richmond I'd probably bracket together.
Yeah.
As being within a spot of each other. I think it's very tight between those two teams. I could easily see them between 4th and 5th, those two teams together.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or 3rd is what I put in the ladder. But
well, you were the only person to also have North above the bottom 4. So a bit of optimism there.
Well, I don't think they're terrible.
They did have some good performances. I mean, they belted Adelaide last year.
Yeah, I think Ben Brown's a really good player. I think I think they do have a lot of players that just consistently underperform, but they can on their day actually win games if they can be bothered turning up.
Yeah.
I think they'll win more games than a Carlton and a Gold Coast by a mile.
Okay.
Who else?
That was the other thing. You had Carlton dead last.
Yeah, they
just not a fan.
Just not a fan. No, which is a shame. I mean,
Fair enough. I won't drill you anymore.
I'm surprised I
can't really elaborate.
Yeah,
well,
it's just I picked that example because the rest of us had Carlton a little higher. But
I was surprised I didn't cop a mention for as high as I put Carlton. I had him at like 13.
Did you?
I had him pretty high.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you like about Carlton?
I see like their young guys getting better. Like they've got a pretty decent group of young kids. Like Paddy Cripps, he's not that. He's young still, but
yeah.
Like Charlie Curnow, he looks really good.
I just think they're going to take some more time. They are very raw.
Yeah.
And then you got Gibbs.
They showed flashes last year.
Gibbs is gone. Doherty's now gone for the season.
Yeah, Doherty's
That's just
a big
for
loss.
me. I think
that's
I don't
true.
think they're going to improve personally.
I'm a fan of Bolton as a coach.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think he's the right coach for Carlton where they're at as well. But yeah, like you said, it might be jumping the gun a little bit early to have them going up. They're probably more of a 3 or 4 year prospect.
Yeah, it's them and Gold Coast, I think, because Brisbane definitely, I think, will be a rung above them this year, in my view. But I think Gold Coast and Carlton are probably 2. I don't know where you guys put them, but probably pretty low as well.
Yeah, Gold Coast low.
Well, we can go through the combined ladder now.
Let's do it.
So I'll read them out. I'll put a graphic up so that people can follow along.
Yep.
In the top 4, we had Adelaide first, Sydney Swans second, Geelong third, and Richmond were fourth.
Yep.
Moving down, we had Greater Western Sydney in fifth, Port Adelaide sixth, seventh place is Melbourne, and eighth, just slotting in, was West Coast Eagles. I think half of us had the Eagles in the top 8 and the other half didn't. So
it's going to be a real big battle for 6th to 12th, I think.
Yeah.
It's a huge battle.
Yeah.
Teams like St Kilda, Hawthorn, I think, would be around that mark as well. That was really hard. West Coast, Melbourne, St Kilda, Hawthorn. They're all teams that could push.
Yep.
Port, again, could all push into that.
It's like we said on, we've said it on previous podcasts, the last couple of years have been extremely even, which means the middle part of the ladder is extremely congested.
Sure. Even like I said before, when I was doing it, like I had 10 teams in my middle third, and I had to pick 2 guys to go up into the top third, 2 guys to go down. It was like, there's that 10 teams that are just sort of pretty. There's obviously the better ones, but they're still pretty in that same echelon, if you will.
All right, unlucky in 9th, we had Western Bulldogs, 10th, St Kilda, 11th place, Essendon, 12th, Fremantle, 13th, Hawthorn, and 14th, Collingwood.
Okay.
And just to finish off with the bottom 4, no surprises here, Carlton, followed by Brisbane in 16th, North Melbourne 17th, and almost unanimously, Gold Coast in rank last, I think.
So, any surprises there? Anyone really disagree with anything in there? For me personally, I think the Bulldogs, when they're at their best, are a top 8 side quite easily.
I was going to say they're too high, is how I'd put it.
Okay.
I think St Kilda are going to overtake them this year, in my view.
St Kilda are another one with a lot of quality players, but do they have that next top A+ midfielder? Probably not. Exactly. They have a lot of really encouraging guys like Akers and they picked up Hunter Clark, and I'm a big fan of again, but
he's still not going to be a A++.
It's too early, but
Interestingly, I was reading an article, and I've heard talk of Caulfield in the guts. He's been training with the midfield all since he got picked up.
Has he? Interesting. I remember pre-draft he said he wants to play as a defender. So I think he'd be quite outside, to be honest. But
he's got the big body though.
Yeah. Okay. All right, boys. Well, I think we've done this one to death. It's probably been about 2 hours now. I don't even know. So if you haven't noticed already, we have started putting out lots of footy videos, not just podcasts, on our channel. So if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that button. You'd be really helping us out. Please.
Button.
Yeah, and check out the other videos. We've got polls, player comparisons. We've got a series called Who's Going to Finish Higher. Just vote, subscribe, like, do it all.
Top 10 fashionable players coming up next week.
Top 10 what?
Fashionable players.
Most attractive.
Most attractive.
Who is the most fashionable player? Come on, give us a preview.
Josh Gibson was pretty famously fashionable, wasn't he?
I don't know. He just doesn't have a nice face, does he?
Anyway,
that's for a different time.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.